Hello and welcome to another video. Today I decided that I wanted to try to do like a manga style coloring a little bit. So all I wanted to do, I kept it really simple. I just really wanted to draw a picture of my OC Kira. She's one half of my mafia couple OC. She's supposed to be like she was originally going to be the future leader of her own mafia family, and then she ended up having to enter into this arranged marriage with another mafia, like the son of a mafioso, like the boss of a family, and she ended up having to be in an arranged marriage to him. And so I just wanted to draw her just because I feel like if I was ever going to make a comic, it would be with those two characters and their whole story. And so I was like, well, what if I just draw Kira and in like an anime, not an anime style, but like a manga style coloring. Like it's still my own style of like doing a drawing. Like I didn't like try to draw it like anime style at all. I just did like my normal thing, but I was just like, I'm gonna try to take inspiration from like the manga sort of like coloring. You know, they use black, they use white, they use screen tones and a little bit of gray and stuff. And so I wanted to try doing something like that. So I just did a very simple drawing of Kira, and the idea is that she's like blushing, and so it's supposed to be like a cute anime girl blushing type of panel, if I was going to do something like that. I just wanted to figure out what sort of coloring style I would want to do if I was ever going to make this into a comic. I always struggle really when I want to do comic ideas. I really struggle with how I want to color them, because I don't want to make fully colored comics just because that would take fucking forever. And I know if I was going to sit around and try to figure out colors for everything, I would just be stuck on it for a really long time. And also I just feel like I'm not great at actually picking colors. I'm okay with like gray tones and stuff. I can like differentiate value pretty okay, I think, but I have trouble with when you add color to the values. So I feel like if I was ever going to do comics, it would have to be in like a black and white manga type style. And so I was just like, let's just practice doing that, so that way it will like get me in sort of kind of into the mindset of doing that sort of thing. And honestly, doing this made me actually want to draw a manga. I'm not going to. I don't think I have any sort of point anywhere close in the future. I'm anywhere close to trying to figure out a manga for this. It's just when you want to write it though. And so I don't know if I'm going to be writing it soon or anything, but this was actually a lot of fun. I just pulled up random manga style drawings. So like just random girls blushing, and I took inspiration from those. Like literally the first page of Google, I was just looking through them. I was like, this is how they're using their screen tones, this is how they're using their blacks and their whites and stuff. And so yeah. So honestly, this drawing did not take me very long. It took me about an hour and 20 minutes, which is not a long time, at least not in my own personal opinion. I don't think an hour and 20 minutes is very long. But honestly, the majority of the time, I felt like, it seems like the majority of the time I spent sketching and doing the line art, which is probably true. But I felt like I spent a lot of time doing the coloring just because I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know how I want it to look. Initially, I was like, well, maybe I'll make her hair like a sort of gray, right? A gray, and then I'll choose where I want to put the blacks and stuff. But then I was like, looking through them, and I was like, a lot of these girls have like black hair and they just use whites to do highlights, and it's like, I don't know if I'm good at that sort of thing. But I decided we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna make the hair black, and then everything else is going to be gray, because I was like, I don't really want her sweater to be black. I felt like it was going to be like too much focus, and I don't feel like any really sort of clothes are really super black in manga. Maybe there is, I'm sure there is like certain instances where like pants are black and stuff like that, but I don't know. I just felt like her sweater did not have like enough detail for it to be the black part of her outfit, and I knew that if I added the white highlights to the hair, it would make it a little bit more detailed, so that way all of like the shape of her hair wasn't going to get lost. So I decided that I was going to make her hair black. This is just me experimenting with stuff right now, and none of this is like set in stone, obviously, but I feel like her hair is not actually black. It's like a sort of kind of darkish brown, like lightish brown. But then I'm like, well, I should probably stylize it as to be black in the comic, because if both of them just have their hair stylized as white in the comic, it's going to get a little bit confusing, I feel like. And so I'm like, we'll just go for the straight black. Honestly, when I was doing the black, I was like, this is too dark. I don't feel like it's turning out good. And so I was like, we'll just go really ham on the highlights. And so honestly, majority of her hair is actually white. Obviously it is black, but I feel like I really added a lot of highlights to it. And so I'm like, maybe I went a little bit too ham with the highlights. You guys can let me know. I think I like it, but I also feel like it's like too too much. I mean, I tried to thin out the highlights for a while, and I was like, I don't like it as much, so I just gave that up, and I just made them really super thick, just because I'm not super great at designing highlights. I feel like I don't really add highlights to hair. I mean, I leave space for highlights, but I couldn't really do that. I don't really have a brush pen that is suitable for stuff like this, but I just went really ham on it, and I felt like that was probably the move. And then after I did the hair, I had to figure out how I wanted to color in the rest of it, because okay, I was like, the hair is black, everything else has to be like a shade of gray, because I already decided that I didn't want black for anything else. Then I had to do her eyes, and so the eyes I had struggled with just a little bit, because I was like, do I add pupils? Because from what I was looking at, they had like for manga, the eyes, for girls, they have them shaded black, but then they have like lighter parts in them, and they're a lot more detailed than the way that I draw eyes in anime/manga. I don't really draw super detailed eyes. I tried a long time ago, and I was just like, that's not my thing. And so I was like, I have to add just a little bit more detail than I usually add to eyes. So and the way that I usually draw eyes, they have very little the pupil is very light. It's like a white spot in it, so I had to struggle with that a little bit. In the end, I feel like I got it at this sort of point that I like, but I feel like I had like a little bit too much white inside the center. Usually when I do the pupils for my art, the pupil is very small, like the dot is very small inside the eye, but that's just because usually I draw pretty small, and this is pretty big technically, but that's okay. I really like the way the highlights came out. I feel like the eyes turned out pretty cute. And then I struggled for a long time to figure out how I was going to do the blush. So initially what I did was I just made like a random shape, and then I made a blur over it. I used Gaussian blur to blur it a little bit out, so it looks a little bit more like an actual flush on her cheeks. But I also wanted there to be like the blush lines that they do in manga, and I struggled for a really long time trying to find a brush that would come up the blush lines in the way that I liked. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it, but I spent so fucking long trying to just pick a brush that had good blush lines. I was like, first I was going to hand draw them, and every time I picked a different brush to hand draw them, I was like, this looks like shit. I hate it. And so I tried to use some of the pre-made brushes for Procreate, and I was like, I really do not want to spend 3 hours trying to figure out how to make a blush brush, like a brush that looks like the type of like screen tone that they use for blush in manga. I was like, I do not want to spend forever doing that. So I was like, we're looking through these preset brushes to figure out what we're gonna do here, and it was sort of like no matter what I was doing, I could not figure it out. And then I figured that I had to use a clipping mask over top of the blush, and so I used a clipping mask, but I don't know how to use clipping masks at all, so I was really struggling to figure out how to get this clipping mask to work. And like, if you want the clipping mask to work, you have to make the color that you're using a different color than the one that's under it, and I didn't know that. And so I was sitting there for like 10 minutes trying to like, what the fuck, why is this not working? It's because I don't know how to use clipping masks. So after I figured that out, I went over it with the diagonal brush that they have on Procreate, and every time I was using it, I was like, this is not coming out diagonally, this is coming out horizontally. And then I was like, oh duh, idiot, I could just fucking rotate it and then it'll be diagonal. And so I ended up doing that, and then I was like, yes, that is good, that looks like a nice blush. And so after I got the blush figured out, honestly everything else kind of fell in line after. I fiddled with a couple of brushes that I might want to use for like the background, for like those like little light things that they do when someone's blushing and being cute in manga, but I was like, nah, fuck, I don't really want to do that. And then after that, I just went ahead and filled in the color of her sweater as white, because I wanted to put a clipping mask over top of that, so that way I can get these cute little stripes on her sweater, just so that way there was a little bit of, difference there. And that's pretty much all I did, you guys. That's the end of the video. Thank you guys for spending this time with me. I hope that you like the way that it came out. I feel like it looks pretty cute. You can go ahead and let me know if this is actually like a manga type style thing. I think that it is, and I think it's actually pretty simple, and I think that if I was ever going to do a manga, it would actually make it go a little bit faster than if I was doing it in full color. Like I said, full color, there's ain't no way I'm doing that shit. Anyway, I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one.